In this tutorial, we'll break down the internals of the MSA Gallet F1 structural firefighting helmet after a structure fire to ensure all components can be properly laundered. First, we'll remove the microphone. This is done by pressing on the yellow clip at the rear of the microphone unit. This will release the unit. Next, you will need to remove the neck flap. This is secured by 4 clips, 2 on each side. Start from the outer edge, unclip the first one, and the next will come out easily. Repeat on the other side. Next, we remove the rear sweat pad. It's attached with Velcro, so just lift it off over the tension ratchet. It will come out in one piece. Next, we take off the chin strap. The chin strap is held on by 2 clips at the front and 1 at the rear. Locate the front clip and twist this connect to release it. It pops out and looks like a T shape. Repeat this on the other side. Once these are both released, you will then need to disconnect the rear clip. This is done by pushing it down into the helmet, and you will hear it click when it has released. Now, we'll remove the remaining sweat pads from the front. Simply pull them away from the 4 Velcro attachments. The next step will be to remove the internal visor. This is done by releasing the 2 C-clips on each side of the helmet. Once these are released, you are able to simply lift the visor out of the helmet. The next step will be to remove the suspension harness. To remove the suspension harness, we need to unscrew these 2 screws on either side of the helmet. You can use a small flathead screwdriver to do this. Once the screws are out, the foam internal shell and suspension harness can be lifted out. Next, you will need to locate the 2 side clips that hold the suspension harness into the plastic frame. You will need to use a small flathead screwdriver to remove the 2 side clips on the suspension harness. Once you have removed them on both sides, you will then need to pull out the 2 front and 2 rear harness tabs. These will easily come out by pulling them out or levering them out with a screwdriver. Once removed, all your helmet internals are now ready to be laundered. It is important to write on your blue or yellow LHD sticker exactly how many helmet internals are being laundered so they can be returned to you. They will come back to your base station once they have been cleaned, usually in a postage bag with your name and service number on it. Now that the helmet has been completely disassembled, we will need to put the clean helmet internals into the helmet, ensuring your helmet is ready to be used again. First, we reattach the suspension harness. You will need to locate the side clips and slide them into place. Now you will need to do the same for the front and rear clips of the suspension harness. Now that the suspension harness is fitted correctly, we need to reattach the internal foam shell to the outer shell. Do this by placing the outer shell down and inserting the foam shell into the outer shell. This is best done by inserting the foam shell on a bit of an angle at first, and then by lining up the screw holes on each side of the helmet. There are also 2 locator clips at the rear of the helmet that need to be clicked back into place. Next, you will need to insert the 2 screws. Make sure they are tight, but be careful not to over-tighten them as this can crack the plastics. Next, you need to refit the ocular visor. First, clip the C-clips back onto the helmet shell to secure the visor. Then make sure that the black locating clip on the ocular visor is correctly inserted into the designated position on the suspension harness plastics. Next, we reattach the chin strap. This is done by locating the rear clip at the rear of the helmet for the back of the chin strap. Make sure you feed the rear of the chin strap under the ratchet to ensure this is fitted correctly. It will click into place when fitted securely. Next, you need to locate the holes on the side of the suspension harness towards the front of the helmet for the T-shaped fittings on the chin strap. They will twist into place. Next, we reattach the two sweat pads, making sure all Velcro is secure. Starting with the front sweat pad, there is 4 Velcro tabs that need to be attached. Once the front sweat pad is secure, you will need to attach the rear sweat pad. This will need to go over the tension ratchet and is then secured with the Velcro. Next, place the neck flap into the 4 clip points at the rear of the helmet. Place the inner clips in first and then secure with the outer clips. Lastly, we need to reattach the microphone unit. This is done by locating the 2 clips on the suspension harness plastic and then pushing the unit sideways into the securing clip on the side of the helmet. Your helmet is now properly disassembled and reassembled, ready for the next job. Make sure you give your helmet a good wash when the internals have been taken out prior to reassembling with clean internals. Regular maintenance after every contamination exposure will reduce your exposure to carcinogens and will increase your safety.